today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is.
But you're getting a little, where's Plan C?
I did a radio show one time from a closet in the Chester Fritz Auditorium in Grand Forks.
Yeah.
And then it was a big time deal. And then pretty soon they brought Senator Hoeven up. Or was it Governor Schaefer? One of those two came up, and they took him in the broom closet where I was. And they said, oh, good digs, huh, Joel?
So this is where the career is, huh? All right, very nicely done.
Could have been the bathroom.
It's all good. A couple things in sports. So obviously it was a pretty crazy weekend, wild weekend, fun weekend, whatever word you want to use. And with the Northern Sun basketball tournament, Joel, the Dragon men are still alive. They beat St. Cloud State yesterday. Pretty impressive, 92-77. So that's the quarterfinal round. They're back at it today in the semis. And that is at 1:30, facing Augustana, a very good Vikings team. But good job for Gabe Myron. The freshman guard poured in 20, and Chad Walpole's bunch, they've got themselves a quarterfinal win today. There's the semis. The state hockey tournament, stories in abundance, Joel. Grand Forks, Red River. And as you know, the EDC hockey tournament was pushed back, because of the weather. Go figure. We had such lovely weather during that EDC tournament. So that was pushed back, and so some of these teams kind of had to wait till Monday to play those state qualifiers. And if you recall in boys, Red River had they needed 2 overtimes to beat North. So they just escaped, a very good North team to make it to state. Well, Red River's a good team, and then they went into state, and they end up winning the tournament. They defeat Davies in the title round. I'm sure if Don Groth is tuning in, massive Davies supporter. Davies fared well. Unfortunately, Davies boys and girls fell in the title game. But you know what? How many teams didn't even make it to the title game? So
there were some things in that game that got people wound up a little bit. There was 5-minute major. There was it was really. I watched pretty much the whole thing. It was really interesting. It was
the North-South Shanley girls. That co-op, Joel, picks up their first state title.
Cool.
So for them, and Riley Bartz. I don't know when she's going to sign with the Wild, but it should be soon. This girl not only had the 2 goals to win the game, the championship game, because I went overtime too, in fact, it went 2 overtimes. Joel, she ended up scoring 9 goals and 1 assist in just this tournament. Now for a number of young players, 9 goals in a month is a pretty good month. 9 goals. I had 9 goals this month. Mm-hmm. She had 9 goals in the state tournament and an assist, 10 points. Yeah, not a bad, not a bad weekend right there. So that's the state hockey tournament there. The Moorhead Spud boys, Joel. They've got the Section 8 2A championship match against Elk River coming up Wednesday. That's in St. Cloud. Now we were hanging out in Region 1. Oh, those Kindred Vikings!
Using that screen, here's the shot from Getty, burying it from downtown.
Backhand to Dukeshire, swung around corner. This time, Brenner open from the concession stand. Buries a 3. Shot clock at 10. Swing it. Dukeshire going to take a 3. Hits! Holy cow! The Duchess of Kindred has 20.
Skipping in the corner. Here's a 3 for Fryer. Boy, that shot nearly grazed the rafters, but it's another triple for Kindred, and they have a 35-point lead. The rout is on here from the shack.
Absolutely, Duchess of Kindred. I told Abby, I said, after you leave, how am I going to nickname the Duchess after that? Is such a well-rounded, deep, talented, experienced club, Joel. I'm not saying that it's theirs to lose the state tournament, but they are certainly a favorite. I know Grafton's probably got something to say about that. Lori Siebens got a good club, but the State B Girls Basketball Tournament, Joel, will get underway Thursday at the Betty in Grand Forks, home of some of the softest pretzels you'll ever eat. I'll tell you, and I don't, those pretzels.
Do you put mustard on them?
Oh, yes. It's the only thing I can because the nacho cheese, I'm allergic. Right. But it's and this is how you judge good cereal. Back to Abby's fiber optics she ate this morning. The way you judge good cereal is it's as good, if not better, without milk as it is with.
Yeah.
A pretzel to me, by itself, when it tastes great, even without dipped in mustard or whatever you do it in, and that's what we're talking about.
She brings in bags of Captain Crunch. Do you know that?
That's because she's smart.
No. She did it again.
Oh, you did again.
Well, this is leftover from last week.
To the roof of your
someday
mouth.
Joel will give you a raise someday where you can actually have crunch berries, like the next level.
What do you think is in these?
Oh, he has given you a raise.
And it was a significant raise.
UND
to afford the berries.
UND hockey swept Western Michigan over the weekend. Joel, what you need to know about that now is any combination of a UND hockey win at Omaha next weekend or a Denver loss to Colorado College will give UND the outright championship in the NCHC. And if that happens, Joel, that'll be the 3rd consecutive straight title in that conference, and no one else has done that. Summer League tournament
there is a point in all that.
Yes.
Don't count Coach Barry's teams out because this thing was bumpy. It was rough. And then all of a sudden it's like,
they lost.
Kind of developed them into something.
You nailed it, Joel. Yeah. They lost to the under-18 team, and take that as if you will, but then lost at home right after that to Cornell. Swept at home. Then went on the road and got swept by Western Michigan. And you're thinking, uh-oh. What's up? After that, they stuck their foot on the gas and now start taking everybody. Here's Brad Berry to that point.
You have to be in the trenches with your guys and believe, and our guys did. They believed in each other when we came out of Western, and they didn't turn back, and we haven't looked back from there.
But why are you cold today? Because on this date, sadness, 1979, Mr. Ed, the talking horse, passed away.
What did they do? Didn't they put peanut butter in his mouth or to get him to move his lips?
The horse, for the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question.
They did. They put peanut butter. Text in to our eye consultants of North Dakota Text Club, 35270.
We got a call in today from Mr. Ed right here.
It's okay. I'll learn to live without it.
So maybe they did.
That was Mr. Ed, Abby.
It was a
talking horse.
Yeah, it's close to being Mr. Ed. It's the only close to talking. That was actually.
In fairness, that was well before Bones or
That was actually Eeyore too, but it's the only cut I could have of talking.
It sounded
horse.
like Eeyore.
I was just sitting here enjoying the company. Plants have a lot to say if you take the time to listen.
That's all I got.
Oh.
Come in here. We've got to talk about this. I think it was peanut butter.
It makes sense if it was.
Yeah. Let's find out.
Peanut butter Captain Crunch, maybe.
Ooh. Oh, that's a thing, actually.
It is. It is a thing.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. You know, we don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. You know, and all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. You know, that's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Oh, 5-3, of course. 6. What's that?
I was cleaning my voice. I had a few games. It's a little like that tire. It's at that stage, you know, where you talk a lot.
I heard you call it game. I
had a triple header on Saturday. It was all fine, except I had a bad sandwich in between sessions.
What was the sandwich?
I don't want to.
Was it Spam?
No, my friend.
Can you eat Spam?
I could.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a friend that.
Do people still eat Spam?
I think so. Yes, Spam and eggs is very.
I had
huge.
Spam and eggs in the airport in Minneapolis, and I can absolutely tell you it was the worst Spam I've ever had.
Yeah. Have you tasted this morning's coffee?
I don't drink coffee. But here's the key. Here's the key to really good grilled Spam. If you could pick it up on one side with 2 fingers and it doesn't
have it
drip.
droop.
Yeah. The stuff in Minneapolis would have hit your arm. It was so
like you don't want it to move.
Right, like limp Spam.
It's
like
gotta be
this, it's got to have some firmness to it. A little fiber optic
feel as
issue.
though
Yeah, it has to be fiber optic.
like a piece of ham. You know, you can't have it. No, that's
I did learn this. I had more people come to me, and I just have had news and views on the back and whatever it is that we do in our little segment.
We don't know.
But I had more people stop by. It's all that darn Heitkamp. Boy, you and Joel. And I tell you come up with your everything. You know, so all week long.
My guys always say, you
tuning
guys do so well without cussing. I say, well, Jack doesn't cuss.
I always say, here you and Joel. I said, someone's got to keep me in check. That's my red button. It's like old GR, the late Gary Rogers.
Yeah.
Gary would say, just called game number 3,400 because he counted them all. And then Gary's hook was always, guess I'll keep doing it until I get it right. Boom. That was Gary's hook on that. So that's my hook for us. I'm like, got to keep Joel in check.
So originally with Mr. Ed, it was a piece of nylon thread.
They put that in his mouth?
Yeah, they put that in his mouth. Yep.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you'd have to have the mouth move so they could personify a human voice, I suppose, in there.
And then they use, wait a second. This whole peanut butter thing is just,
is it
ruse. It's a ruse.
It's a ruse?
Yeah, it is. Stay with us, folks, because this.
Riveting.
Well, this matters.
And then I have, I'll have a riveting question for people regarding other.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
For her, and I think you should be a little afraid of this.
Adrian always expects me to have something off topic. And since Mr. Ed passed away on this date, 1979, I was curious about Adrian's top 5 animal actors, I guess, for lack of a better word, in a sitcom or a movie, your most popular, your favorite top 5.
Not animated now. Real.
Not animated, just real dogs used, ever probably real, whatever. Joel just popped in with a number 5, Willard the Rat, or Ben. Freaky movie. Top 5 Anim actors is what we call it.
So what pops in your head?
Not Adam actors.
Not Adam, but animal actors.
Right away, I think Green Acres. There was a pig.
She's going with Wilbur the pig, Rusty.
Yep.
There you go.
So
I also think of Guardians of the Galaxy. There's like a raccoon.
I don't think he's real.
He's
though.
not real,
Yeah.
but he's awesome.
See, I think most
awesome.
people in their head right now popped in Lassie.
I think that's number 1.
Yeah.
I think if you're going top 5, Lassie, number 1.
I went for Old Yeller.
Probably number 3.
Yeah, I don't know that it'd make number 3 even.
Really?
No.
What?
Old Yeller's an old movie, right?
Yeah, tough ending.
Yeah, tough ending. Very tough ending.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, he eats the mailman, just so you know. Go ahead.
It's kind of an art that died, huh?
If somebody wants to move
Or
on.
then we went down the sea animal.
The
path.
animal union just started asking for too much.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have good animal actors anymore.
I'm going Lassie, Mr. Ed, Old Yeller, Benji, and Orville the pig then.
See, I believe Flipper should be in there.
What about
Or the whale in
Yeah.
Free Willy.
Free Willy?
Somebody just texted and said Flipper.
Flipper, there.
Yep,
Okay,
they're
well,
with me.
maybe we got to redo the top 5 list.
I said Flipper before that text. Did I
So
not?
everybody get downtown, patronize those businesses. Thanks for coming in. Anyway, Joel.
I love
it. There's always something going on. First off, I get to say this, you guys, because I think it needs mentioning right off the bat. They built a new beautiful city hall in downtown Fargo. And did you see what they did yesterday? They're shining the Ukrainian flag on the city hall in downtown Fargo. And I was so proud to see that and know that that's where I got to go to work every day. And, you know, for you who was a big supporter of making sure that gets built downtown, you've got to be really proud of that, Adrian.
I am. You know, you saw over the last week buildings all over the world lit up with the Ukrainian flag colors, and to know that our city can sit on that stage as well and show our support, it's pretty an emotional thing to see.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I was speaking to John Strand about it, and John said, you know, Greg Schilberger and his crew did a ton of work on it, and I've known Greg he grew up in Hankinson, so I've known Greg for years, and so congratulations and thank you. And then they said it was suggested by a citizen, you know, that just said, hey, can you guys do this, which proves government
all the best
can work.
things are.
And that's the question I would have, because I think we saw that take place in Minneapolis and St. Paul,
Yep.
and
Yes.
now we have that in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Is that something that will domino and we'll start seeing more of that?
Yep.
I would love it. Let's do it.
If you are either one of you on Twitter,
Yes.
go to Michael Beschloff's, the historian. He asked for photos of it. And if you follow him, or if you just go and kind of scope out his, and so you got the Gateway Arch, you've got the Eiffel. I mean, you've got
Empire
all these.
State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gateway Arch was awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, when you saw it. So yeah, there, downtown Fargo, you made it there, big time. If for no other reason to go downtown than that. Go
Come
drive
see
and look
it at dusk.
Exactly.
Yes,
now, a lot of things
beautiful.
cooking in downtown. I know that we'd always talked about building, you know, in terms of living space.
Yeah.
You've
well,
got more of that going now.
This is a growing city, and some of the people coming into our city want to live in a downtown area. And so we're continuing to build those apartment buildings. We've got a great one opening up on Broadway and 4th. So do you remember where the old Goodyear tire store was?
Yeah.
On Broadway?
Yep.
So this is going to be, before it was Goodyear, it was a 5-story brick building called the Mercantile, situated right next to the train tracks so that the goods could come off the train and go right into the building and then be sold out of there. So that was raised back in 1967, and then it was the Goodyear for a while, and now we're going to put a Mercantile back there. So it's a different use of a building, but we're giving homage to the history. It's going to be 100 apartment units, 5 to 7 businesses. The Fargo Police Station is committed to putting a satellite station in there, and that's going to be open this summer, which I think is really important. You know, you need these anchors in downtown. You talk about City Hall, you've got the police station, the library, the post office. Those are the things that make a city. And we have all those things in downtown.
I've been here for, I don't know, 3+ decades, I suppose, since coming to college here. Is parking keeping up with also the other development?
Yes. In fact, the city's pretty smart about that. They're putting the parking in first. So the parking at the Mercantile has been open for almost a year already, and it's always free on evenings and weekends. It's a service provided by the city. When that parking opens up, suddenly businesses can look at downtown and say, okay, now I can do this. I can think about moving my business back downtown because you've got enough parking. People use it during the evening when they live there. They use it during the day when they work there. So it's getting double duty. You know, it's not just a whole bunch of surface lots sitting empty all day and only used on Black Friday.
I can vouch for that because I've used it a number of times over the last couple months. In fact, we ran into each other during the holiday season. Sue and I went to Concordia to the Christmas concert. We decided to make a weekend of it, and so we stayed downtown Block 9, went to Jasper's to eat, and the parking was incredibly easy and right next to where we wanted to go, and that it works.
Key.
It works.
And fun side note, Chef Austin Covert of Rosewild was just nominated as a finalist for the Outstanding Chef of a James Beard Award.
Really?
So that's pretty exciting. He's on a national stage among the best. Got the best food.
And I'm not going to lie to you, I was disappointed. When I saw his menu, Jack, Spam was not listed.
That wasn't.
No head cheese.
What's up with that?
You know you're only happy when you can have steak with butter on it.
Exactly. Did you ever eat a steak with butter on it?
Oh, of course I do.
There.
Yes.
Joel Heitkamp, he opened up my eyes to a whole new thing about 4 years ago.
Yep.
That your wife, I think, paid for.
Herb-infused butter. It has to.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, Joel forced me to put a little pat of butter on that steak, and it's changed my life.
It's changed my life in so many positive ways.
Add it to your karma roll, too.
Right. The karma roll is another thing. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. That'll change my life.
And by the way, when you go downtown Fargo, there's about 3 places that I didn't realize I could go down there, grab lunch, and get out of there as quick as what I did the other day.
Yeah, you can come in quick, or you can come and stay for 2 hours because the parking's free for 2 hours. So come on down for lunch and check out. Boy, there are so many restaurants. There's got to be 50 restaurants to choose from, all walking distance from a parking garage.
So some of the other things I'm looking at, floor-to-ceiling windows in the project that I mean, everything's going to remain gorgeous.
This one is really nice. So we worked with JLG Architects on this one, and, I talked to one of their architects that worked on it, and he said, we stood to the south of the Fargo Theater sign knowing that everybody who comes to Fargo takes that picture. They want to have that picture of the Fargo Theater. If we're going to build something in the background of that, it has to be special.
Good. Yeah.
It's got to be something that really fits.
Yep.
There's historic buildings on 3 sides of this thing, so you can't just put a 1 or 2 story strip mall there. It has to be something that fits the context.
Well, I mean, think about what's been there for that picture. You've had the marathon. You've had ESPN there for game day.
This is our city.
Right.
It's our postcard.
Remember when Toby and the boys got the airplanes downtown? They took... Like Toby's Mustang went downtown Fargo,
right.
B-51 Mustang, which was used in World War II. Wow. They took it in downtown Fargo, Bob Odegaard, and they took pictures there for the big movie release.
I've still been searching, and I don't know where the mural of Rusty is, so I get my picture taken with Rusty's beard, but that's not done yet.
Back alley. It's way
tough to find.
Behind a tavern.
Yeah. Speaking of housing, something could live in that beard.
But it seems like everybody I see either on Facebook or Instagram has either the Fargo Theater, as there's a pic of the Fargo Theater, then there's some place on a brick wall where like there's an angel's wings.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know where that is.
It's close. You would like it. It's with an ice cream store.
Oh, then I'll be there.
Yes, and I don't know if the VFW maybe still has their angel wings.
I think they do.
Some patriotic angel wings.
Okay, there's certainly a lot of photos taken of that.
There's a lot of murals downtown, too.
Yes, we've got the Mario wall, so you can pretend you're Luigi.
Really?
Oh, welcome to Fargo, the big postcard. We've got.
There's hope for your beard, Rusty.
Yes, there is.
I want to talk about, am I pronouncing this right? Tischler Bice? Okay, what is this about?
Well, so I wanted to talk about this a bit because we do continue to build. And how do you feel when you hear the word incentives? I mean, there's so many people get very upset when they hear the word incentives. And the city of Fargo doesn't take it lightly. They hired Tischler Bice. It's a national firm to come in and look at exactly what Fargo does to do greenfield growth, downtown growth, job growth. What are the programs that we offer? And are we giving away the farm, or are we doing things right? So they hired a company to come in and examine that. For the most part, the city of Fargo is very strategic. They know what they're doing. They have the right programs in place. Tischler has a few suggestions for maybe reducing the years on some of the incentives and other things like that. But the report came back that was given to the City of Commission last week in their commission meeting, and it was an A+ rating that they're doing the right things. Yes.
Was there any talk anything in the report that showed a bounce between, I get a 5-year tax break, I send it to you, you get a 5-year tax break, that it never goes on the tax rolls, that people in the Renaissance zone, for example, transfer property or sell property? Was there anything like that?
No, you can only use the Renaissance zone on a property one time.
Okay.
So once it's done, it's done. And, what the incentives are on is increased value. So you have to invest a lot of money in order to get any break. And the city, for the incentives that happen downtown, there's no money written out from the city to the developer. It's a forgiveness on new taxes created.
For X amount of time.
For X amount of time.
Which is
so
what they were
it is
looking
an
at.
investment. It's not nothing. It's an investment in the future. You maybe saw that the Fargo Forum did a editorial about the flood protection and how it's going to it encloses our city. So we've got growth boundaries now. We can't keep going forever. And we've got about 40 to 50 years worth of growth at our current rate. Well, 40 to 50 years might sound like a long time. It's nothing.
No.
Your kids are going to be...
Trust me, I've been driving up here for 20 years now almost, and you see it. All right, stick around. We got some more. By the way, a Canadian goose on Tawakan this morning, kingbird in my backyard yesterday morning.
A kingbird?
Yep, that's a sign, ladies and gentlemen, of...
More winter.
Spring.
Okay.
Spring. How about Gentle Ben? Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to
you on Remington.
She was stuck on the Green Acres pig there for a while,
Yeah,
which is now being moved out of the top five, I think.
Eddie on Frazier. Here's one that.
Was that the name of that dog on Frazier?
Yep, Eddie. It was. I remember
Top
that.
5 animal actors of all time.
Trigger the horse.
Oh,
Trigger.
What was her Roy and his wife's name?
Ginger.
Ginger. What was her horse's name? I know this. I've got this.
I defer to Adrian.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I'm out.
Dolly, no. Tipper.
It was Buttercup, I think. Buttercup. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. All right, I got to get back to work. Chamber, eggs and issues. What's this about?
Yes, so we just talked about the Tischler Bice study on incentives. Let's go deeper. Chamber is going to have a meeting tomorrow morning called Eggs and Issues, where they've got a few speakers to talk about how these programs are used and why and what kind of goals we're looking to accomplish with them.
I've been to those.
They're a great program.
They are, and they're very informative. And, ladies and gentlemen, they get you in and out. They know you've got to get to work.
Absolutely, and they'll give you some great breakfast.
Yep, and it doesn't just roll on and on. The Red River Market at West Acres. What's this about?
Well, you talked about spring. Let's get it rolling here. But in the meantime, we have to do our Red River Market indoors. So we're going to be at the at West Acres over in Fargo on 13th. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'd love.
It's everything you love about
Saturday, March 5th.
Saturday, March.
I always stop for something and leave with a whole lot more.
I know.
March 9th. What's going on there?
On March 9th, Emerging Prairie. Do you know Emerging Prairie downtown? They are an organization that helps out entrepreneurs get new businesses rolling, and they moved into the Black Building.
Okay.
So we're going to have a big party in the Black Building again, and we've got startup drinks startup brew in the morning, where Mike Almendinger and Brad Schlossman, who his grandpa built the Black Building, they're going to give some history on it and talk about entrepreneurship. And then at night or in the afternoon, 4 to 6, we've got public tours. So if you haven't been in the Black Building for a while, have any curiosity at all, this is your chance to come on in and get a tour, take a look around.
Could I bring a dog?
Why not?
Could I bring Jack?
Why not?
Rin Tin Tin?
Rin Tin Tin. We could bring him. There's always something going on. Where do they go to find all these things?
We love dogs downtown.
Yeah.
Have we not talked about this
Yes,
before?
I know. I just meant in the Black Building. Where do they go to find out all these activities?
Go to kilborngroup.com. Email me at info@kilborngroup.com.
All right. Good. More are coming in, Jack. You do this all. Buttermilk. It wasn't Buttercup. It was Buttermilk.
Buttermilk.
I remember what the horse looked like. Is
it beige?
It was definitely a woman's horse.
Hi-ho, Silver.
I'm just saying. Milo in the mask. Stick around. More
Joe,
coming.
Can we open up a hot dog stand downtown and just call it Wieners?
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
hey, it's smoked oyster day today, or hey, it's head cheese day. Those are event foods. Those are the foods that you have
for special occasions.
All
head
your
cheese.
buddies. By the way, Rock, my buddy, great new deer sausage. Tuna, my buddy, great new deer sausage. And of course, my Fairmont Locker stuff always. But my point is this. You get to people together and you try out the new deer sausage, and it's awesome. Now, would you come to that? Would you come see?
I would have the deer sausage, not the head cheese or the tiger meat.
Oh, the tiger meat was awesome.
I get that.
Snuffy made some, and then we got some from Fairmont Lockers.
Do people get sick from that ever?
If you eat too much. Ask Tank McNamara.
Oh.
Ask Tank if there's an alley behind the Forbes bar.
That
the
he
Flying
had
H.
too much tiger meat.
Tank decided to treat it like a steak. He didn't.
Oh,
Oh, this is good. No, this is good. It backed up on him. I'm just saying. But yeah.
Would not recommend.
No, would not recommend. All right, we got a lot of things we got to get done today, ladies and gentlemen, not the least of which is to talk about what's going on in Ukraine and what North Dakota's role, and I'm serious about this, what our role has been in working with Russia, because that's what we're doing. So we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about the legacy fund. We're going to talk about the management of it. We're going to talk about the investment of it. I saw a piece done by a young reporter with the KX network that was wonderful. Josh Meny is a good reporter. Now, we asked him to come on today, and he couldn't. But I have to tell you, he is doing some really good work here, and I recommend you check it out. Where he has tried to, he's made open records requests, and he's dug into what the investments are when it comes to the legacy fund. Now, this is your money. If you live in North Dakota, ladies and gentlemen, the legacy fund is your money, okay? And then there's a group of people that get to decide where the money goes to, right? And you elect those individuals, by and large, to decide where the money goes to. Now, you can always hide behind the word consultant. You can always, but deep down in your fiber, you still know right from wrong, right? You still know that sending money to Russia is something you shouldn't be doing and investing in. That's not something that you should be doing. Well, we did. We did. And thank you to Josh for pointing that out. And now you see them all in full reverse. Well, I've asked Josh Boucher to come in. He's the minority leader in the North Dakota House, and the check and the balance. That's what he is. He's the check and the balance. He's the one not afraid to point out when someone from the majority party, and yes, it's the Republicans that are investing in Russia, when it is them that is doing something wrong, somebody has to come forward and say, no. Representative Boucher, good to have you on News and Views.
Joel, good to be here as always. Happy Monday.
What in the heck what were they thinking of?
Well, on technicality, what happens with these funds is, we hire money managers, or I should say the State Investment Board hires money managers who go out and buy funds that have to perform at a certain level. And that's where this Russian money is. It's within a specific fund. So now we know that there is what I would call dirty money sitting in these funds. And so now we have to get it out. But the problem is, in the last legislative session, Senator Unruh up from Coal Country got a bill passed by the Republican supermajority that says we can't tell our money managers to move funds based on social issues, because they wanted to protect against green energy, us investing in green energy. And so again, another example of my GOP colleagues micromanaging another board, being able to do the work they need to do, because we know overwhelmingly over the weekend that people are frustrated. Why is our money sitting over in Russia right now, supporting this authoritarian war?
So this is the same Unruh that her own party just chose somebody else to run over her, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because she wasn't supposedly conservative enough for them, which really there's a whole nother point there that we got to get to as well. But get it back.
Right.
I want the money back. I don't want the money funding Vladimir Putin. I don't want, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care who we hired, fire them. I mean, if that's their attitude that, we got to perform at a certain rate and this is where we go and we take, I want my money back.
Sure. And we think we found a way to be able to get that back. We have this small window of opportunity. Senator Kathy Hogan sits on the Legacy Fund Advisory Board, which former Senator Jim Dotzenrod sat on for a long time. And that group is actually looking right now, how can we do more in-state investing? And so there is a little bit of a workaround I think we can tap into to say we want to pull that money out. We're going to invest that in North Dakota instead of in Russia or any of these other authoritarian states.
So right now, today, we could pull the money out of Russia.
I believe so.
What would it take?
If the State Investment Board got together with the Legacy Fund Advisory Board and they did these actions with the support of the RIO office, the Retirement Investment Office, to get the ball moving.
Governor Burgum, if you're listening, call him. Call him in. Say, get in your pickup, get to Bismarck, or I don't care if you do it by Zoom or whatever. Get it done. I don't want North Dakota money funding Russia. I don't, Josh.
Right. You and I think everyone else that we've seen on social media, and, social media certainly is one prism, but people are upset. We are seeing, at a time this morning when supposedly, Vladimir Putin is sitting down with the president of Ukraine while they're still bombing schools over in Ukraine. It's supposed to be a peace talk right now, and they're still bombing. It's
a complete joke. Why in the world would we trust him?
Right.
What we had all of these people that say that President Biden was just, hollering wolf, that they're really not going to go in. And then we had a former president of the United States and Donald Trump say, well, this is brilliant. This is genius. Look, he just took back these two areas, didn't have to do anything militarily. They all want to be part of Russia. Oh, man. And yet the administration kept saying, no, he's going to attack Ukraine. You know what happened? He attacked Ukraine.
He did.
And what's he doing it with? He's got to have money to do it. And some of that's our money, Josh.
Right. Yeah, it's time for us to pull it out, bring that money back in. There's plenty of great projects going in North Dakota, whether it's township roads or startup companies, long-term companies that are looking to grow. We have that opportunity because of the other work that we did during this last session.
Did you as a legislature, and I always wonder I don't know that he did anything wrong. I don't know that. I want to preface this by saying that. But I also know that John Hoeven's a banker and that bank makes a lot of money. Okay. And I also know that in his time as United States Senator, he's done pretty doggone well with the bank and with himself. And I also know that John Hoeven, some years back here, spent the 4th of July, our nation's birthday, in Russia. Do we know what that was all about yet? Does his bank, has he been involved in working behind the scenes to make sure that the investment board, that this money goes over to Russia? Is there a connection there that the public needs to know about?
Well, I think the public definitely needs to know what the senator was doing over there as our senator, of course, during the 4th of July, but it's been 4 years and it still sounds like radio silence. We don't know what was talked about. We don't know what conversations were had over there. And so exactly as you pull that string back, what does that mean for their personal wealth or the investments that they have made? There's a big conversation in Congress right now where we are trying to make sure that Congress can't do stock trades while they're sitting there and hearing about a pandemic 5 days before the public hears about it, and then goes and buys investment in Zoom and in Pfizer and all these other companies that are going to make billions of dollars. We need to have better transparency with our elected officials, whether that's at Congress, at the state level, or the local level. And unfortunately, Senator Hoeven hasn't been willing to talk about what he was doing over there.
Has your opposition leaders called for that money to come back? Have they come out and said, look, get the money back, get it back right now?
There hasn't been anything formal at this point because this all happened Friday. People have been looking, trying to get a hold of folks to get the facts. Now that we know the facts this morning, certainly those calls are coming out.
Has Governor Burgum called for that money to come back and said, look, as governor of the state of North Dakota, I'm going to do what I can. I want our money back.
I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about us.
I was talking about Chet, and I was talking about Rich, too.
No, I've not heard anything, I haven't checked my state email in the last 10 minutes, so I don't know if there's a press release in there, but
I'm sitting here looking, and I'm not finding it. Yeah. That press release would have went out on Saturday if I was in charge. It would have been gone then.
Right.
Because it's like, look, this is the easiest decision. And if somebody says, well, you'll pay a penalty, I'll pay the penalty. And then I'll ask you what the heck you sent money to Russia for from North Dakota. But hang with me, Josh. I got a couple more questions for you. Let's get to the weather cave and find my buddy who's back in the...
Hey, this is Abby Miller with with the
Beer
Mighty
Cans and
790
Couch
and
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
880-534-6 on our Laney's News and Views studio line. Josh Brachet is still with us. He is the minority leader in North Dakota's House, very respected on both sides of the aisle. You know, nobody looks at Josh and says, boy, is he partisan. Call me partisan. Call me anything you want, folks. North Dakota has invested our money in Russia. Russia attacked Ukraine. Number one, we shouldn't have done it in the beginning because Vladimir Putin has never been and never will be a friend to the U.S. He might be friends with certain individuals in the U.S., but he's never been a friend to the people of the United States of America. And so for our money to be there, it's wrong. It never should have made its way there, but it needs to come home. Josh, you as the minority party in the legislature, what steps are you going to take?
Well, first and foremost, you know, we've already had people starting to call publicly for, you know, the State Investment Board to do what they can, which is very limited at this point. But we have Senator Kathy Hogan on this Legacy Advisory Committee who, you know, can help figure out how do we get some of this money back. And specifically, there's that little bit of a, for lack of a better word, I'll say loophole in the law that was passed in 2021 that would allow us to bring that money back in state. You know, again, for your listeners to remember, the supermajority Republicans passed a law that said that the State Investment Board can't ask for this money back based on social issues. And so it's that short-sightedness and the micromanaging of the GOP that we continue to see of state agencies and local government that is hamstringing us at a time to be nimble when we want to get that money back here.
I want to get to some of these text messages. It says, Joel, now this is what drives me nuts. And this is why I'm going to probably have the last check I write on God's earth bounce versus someone like this. I have no doubt that he's right when it comes to finance. I have no doubt that I'm right when it comes to the sheer morals of what's going on. He says now is the time to invest in the Russian economy. Stock and currency are on sale for pennies on the dollar. This too will pass. And I don't like punishing the Russian people for their unfair elected president. I don't care if we punish. The only way to change things in Russia is to get the people to a point where they realize the guy they've got being president. I don't want to invest 1 cent in Russia where he's buying 1 tank with that money, period, Josh. And I don't care if we lose a buck or two doing it.
Joel, look at what's happened in the last 72 hours in our world. The European Union, with President Biden at the table, has basically shut down the economy of the Russian economy. And that's the pressure that a dictator like Vladimir Putin needs. And I'm sorry that there is going to be suffering by the people of Russia, and we should do everything we can to minimize that. But at the same time, we need to get rid of Vladimir Putin. And we have not seen the world unified like this since, you know, I wasn't alive in World War II. So, but that's what I'm hearing folks talk about is that, you know, the unity that we are seeing in attacking this aggressor. And now we're seeing that these other Eastern Bloc states starting to step up and say, we want to join NATO now. Yeah. We want to be at the table. We want your protection, and we want to be a partner.
It wasn't that long ago. Leaders in the U.S. of A. were talking about how NATO was obsolete. NATO wasn't worth anything, and they were undercutting NATO. Right now he lives in Mar-a-Lago, the guy that was doing everything he could to undermine NATO. And I would also point this out, that when you sit there and you look at decisions, policy decisions, when you stop funding to Ukraine until you get what you want out of it for political purposes, that's not foreign policy. That's aiding Russia. And this country did that too. There was an attempt made by the previous administration to stop money that was approved to go to Ukraine unless he got what he wanted politically. Period.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And all this is backing up on them. And this isn't, boy, hindsight for me. We were screaming this into the microphone then. We were pointing out who our friends were versus who our enemies are. But I'll get back to the reason I called you to come in here. The steps that need to be taken, just so the public knows who to call. So the very public, you know, I know that Kathy and there's a process. I want to know what they can do right now, who they need to call, what they need to do to get our money back out of Russia.
Well, first, it's the State Investment Board that manages us through the RIO office, Retirement Investment Office. And the governor has a seat on that as the chair, but he designates that to the Lieutenant Governor, Brent Sanford. So that's the office I'd encourage people to call. That is the person who can, the governor's office. You'll get either the governor or the lieutenant governor, but say you want a meeting called. You want to see them in action, starting to figure out their ways to bring this back to North Dakota. Or not even North Dakota, but to reinvest it into something that's morally going to make us the same amount of money or more. That's a caveat of it. But you can't tell me there's not other funds that exist that would be able to perform just the same way.
And I don't care if I got less percentage. This individual says, you know what? We're talking about now's the time to invest in Russia. What if they don't give you the money back? What if they go bankrupt and the next thing you know, you invested in a country that's hit the skids economically like you never would believe?
Yeah, good luck for Russia ever having anyone invest in them in the future then, too.
And good luck for Russia going into any other country and saying, let's do business.
Right.
All right, stick around. More coming your way.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
of Representatives were talking about the North Dakota money that is in Russia funding the Russian government that the Russian government controls. We still have some control over it. Do we not, Representative Boucher?
Yes.
So we can get our money back.
Yes, there's some tricky shell game. I think that we have a small window of opportunity to do that, and we should do it.
Here's the other part. We're seeing sanctions on a national scale. We're seeing countries, even like Switzerland, that always stays out of these things, say, you know what? We're going to deal ourselves a hand. They're talking about it anyway. Mm-hmm. We're seeing other countries that normally completely, like Norway, that wouldn't get involved on this financially. And now they're saying, nope, we're going to deal ourselves a hand here. How can we, as North Dakotans, just sit back and not, on an emergency scale on Monday morning right away, want our money back?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I read a headline, and I didn't read the story, but the Bank of China said they aren't going to invest in Russia right now.
Right.
We have governors around the United States who, most folks probably don't know this, but many states have state-run liquor stores. Governors are signing executive orders pulling Russian liquor from the shelves. The governor of New York said no more doing business with Russia from the state of New York. There are things that can be done. Right. It just takes action.
Right. And folks, before you joined us, we were talking about this before we were joined by the bigger network of the News and Views radio network. Fargo, the city hall, has lit up their beautiful new city hall in the Ukrainian flag. I mean, the attitude from the general public out there in support of the Ukrainian people has been overwhelming.
Yeah, there was a group of folks in Bismarck that gathered at an Eastern European grocery store yesterday called Odessa and had a little rally. I mean, in Bismarck, there were, and I think there's our German from Russia heritage. There are plenty of us that are originally from actually where Ukraine is now as part of being Germans from Russia, have family members in South Central North Dakota specifically. And on top of that, we have a North Dakotan who's being held in the Ukraine right now. We saw, we're seeing that the senators are trying to move mountains to get him back. Why can't our governor and our state investment board move mountains to get that money back?
Now let's talk about, who do I contact? Here's the names. John Godfrey. He's lieutenant governor of the state of North Dakota. Brent Sanford, the lieutenant governor of the state of North Dakota. John Godfrey, Thomas Beadle. Well, Thomas, I know, is a state treasurer. And he's approachable. I know Thomas. He's approachable. He's somebody that that'll take your phone call. Call him. I mean, call him. There's a committee that gives advice from the legislative branch to all of this. Jerry Klein, Keith Kempenich, Glenn Bosch, Gary Kreit, Kathy Hogan, as you mentioned, is working on getting this thing in reverse. Scott Meyer. Now, call Keith Kempenich. Call him. Call Jerry Klein and say, no, you need to get word out that we're pulling our money out of Russia.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And, and at the same time as we're having these conversations about getting state money out of Russia, folks should go look at their 401ks and their pensions too. I mean, this can be an all the above strategy that all the way down to Main Street, we can have an involvement in.
The New York Times 5 minutes ago announced that Switzerland has frozen Russian assets. Do you think we didn't learn from a full-scale European war in the past? You think NATO doesn't matter?
Right.
It matters a lot.
Yeah. Again, we are seeing the Eastern or the Western world unified.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get it. Somebody wants to know how much money we have invested. You don't have the specific dollar amount, right? I don't care if it's a dollar.
Yeah,
I want it back.
I've seen a couple numbers, but I won't be able to quote an accurate one.
Yeah. I mean, somebody said, as a North Dakota resident, Burgum, please resign immediately. I'm not calling for the governor's resignation. I'm calling for the governor's action.
Right.
I want the governor to act. I want him to issue a press release today saying that the power that the office of the governor holds is going to be used to take our money back from Russia now. It's that simple.
It's again, the power's there. Like I said, there's this little carve out that we passed in House Bill 1425 this last session to have the Legacy and Innovation Infrastructure Fund. That is where we can put some of this money and put it to work in North Dakota.
Okay, so I'm not surprised, but I'm pleased with the resolve of the Ukrainian people. Man, are they tough.
Wow. I mean, the other thing with that is also we are, it's fortunate, unfortunate at the same time. We are watching this in real time through social media. I mean, through TikTok and Twitter and Snapchat or whatever else is out there, we're watching people stand up. You know, I'm sure you saw the video of the farmer who hooked up his tractor to a tank that had ran out of fuel and hauled it off. Probably has it in his barn right now. You know, and little old ladies walking up and throwing sunflower seeds as a symbol of leave our country or you're going to die here. And these sunflowers are going to grow into our national flower on your dead bodies. I mean, and then the flip side of it is you have these young men from Russia who there's pictures or videos of them crying as they're being yelled at by people. They don't even know why they're there.
Yeah.
They were conscripted. They were told to go stand there and then told to march. And that's what they did. They don't have food. They don't have rations. And not only the resolve of the Ukrainian people, but the stories I've seen is the prisoners of war they're taking right now are being clothed. They're getting health care. They're getting food and warm, tea and coffee is what they're saying on social media. Now, granted, that's what I'm seeing on social media, so I don't know what reality is. But the Ukrainian people also recognize that these young men work for a dictator.
Yep.
And so they're going to show them this is what democracy looks like. This is what your country could be if you stand up to that dictator.
They had a situation where individuals, because, and if I was Vladimir Putin, I'm not the military strategist, but if I was him, I would have took out communications. The Ukrainian people are still able to contact anyone they want in the world with their cell phone, and one of them was standing right next to a Russian soldier, and they called his mom.
Oh, wow.
And they said, explain to her why you're here. And he couldn't explain. He was like, look, this is what he's doing. He's taking your sons and he's putting them here to do this. And the crowds in Russia are swelling.
Right.
I mean, I have a theory, Josh, and I'm curious what you think about this. I talked about it about a month ago. If you look at Vladimir Putin, he's really puffy. Have you noticed that? I mean, his face and he doesn't look the way Mr. Jiu-Jitsu or whatever guy he was before all this. I wonder if he's okay physically, or if this isn't just a, hey, I'm on my way out. I'm going to do this. I don't care what the world thinks of me. I want the old Russia back. I'm sick and dying kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, the accounts I've read is he's self-isolated himself the last 2 years. He used to work with his oligarchs and his military advisors. It sounds like on TV, they were told the world saw him tell them what to do and the shock that some of them had. So yeah, I don't think he's been a rational human being for a very long time.
No.
But I think that isolation, his health, his age. So my curiosity as an individual like that is what's your plan? If you're doing this because, this is going to be your big hurrah and your savior of Mother Russia, who's next? Because we don't see a second command. We don't see someone come up, and that's an opportunity for democracy. Again, as these Russian people see this and swell up, I hope. I mean, that could be the best thing that come out of this is not only, the less lives lost, but also what if Russia becomes a democracy?
Yeah.
A real democracy, I should say, not the democracy they call themselves.
Right. Here's the other part. I think that all of the decisions he made were completely based upon the support of China. And more and more of the intel that's coming out of China is that China isn't happy. They don't want economically the world to blow up.
Right.
And they don't see this. And I'm not speaking on behalf of something I absolutely know, but I saw 3 reports this weekend that said that China isn't happy that Russia's doing this. That doesn't mean they have your back.
Right.
It doesn't. And then when you talk about putting nuclear weaponry on alert, I think that the Biden administration, they had a conservative commentator on this morning, and he was saying they're handling that perfectly. Because what he's wanting everyone to do is react to that in a very, very, oh my God, he's going to drop nuclear bombs on us type of way. And so he can back home say, look, we're pulling their string. We're pulling their chain. Look at, they know not to mess with us. And I think Biden's handling this pretty well. In the beginning, I would have liked to seen all these sanctions go on as hard in the beginning, but NATO wasn't up for that.
Right.
In the end, you go with what the partners you got. Now, it appears to be getting their attention and working, Josh.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's our opportunity not only to ask for this money back, but to, push the Biden administration. This is me talking from a Democrat to the Democrat president, is we have energy resources here. We should transition to renewable energy, but in the meantime, we can also tap into the reserves we have out in places like Western North Dakota. We got to stop letting the oil companies and Governor Burgum and other people keep throwing their hand at, saying that the administration's not letting them do this, not letting them do that. The reality is people aren't investing in oil companies right now. So the oil company, besides taking their largesse of their CEO bonuses, are not investing money back into the oil fields. Well, this is an opportunity for North Dakota and our federal government to work in, if it's safety and pipelines and developing pipelines, making sure that we can get more oil out of the ground here as our resource and take care of our needs here and export outside of the world, outside of our country.
Let's get William on. William, you're on with Josh Boucher and Joel Heitkamp. Go ahead.
Yeah, that legacy fund, they got money in China, too, that's killing the Igor people, a minority. So our North Dakota money is killing the minority in China, too. If you look, they've invested that money in 89 countries, that legacy fund. What do you think of that, you guys?
No, I agree. Was it William? I agree completely. And there was conversation earlier this year by legislators about that, the Uyghur people. And again, the limitation that the legislature, the Republican-led legislature, put on the investments is that we cannot make investment decisions based on social reasons. Now, their intent was renewable energy, but the short-sightedness of that means that human rights issues and things like this that you bring up, William, we're also limited from de-investing from. I mean, we have seen the power of how markets move when even just university funds have said we're not going to invest in apartheid. Apartheid changed in South Africa. We have the opportunity to use our money to be a real, well-regulated capitalistic society that invests our money into good things, into things that are going to move us forward and not hold us back.
Somebody says, William, maybe North Dakotans should not pay their taxes.
Well, why isn't the money being invested in North Dakota is what I want to know. Why isn't it being invested to kill Ukrainian, and half of the farmers in North Dakota are Germans from Ukraine?
Yeah. Thanks, William.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's opportunities. The key thing is we do have to remember that when we invest these funds, we want to make sure they get a good return. So providing opportunities in North Dakota to make sure we get an equal or better return is good too. And that's why we should invest in here as well.
There is nothing prior to the attack, the war that he invoked upon the Ukrainian people, on Ukraine. There is nothing prior to that would have put me in a position where I ever would have voted for money from here going to Russia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so any consultant that came in and said, look, Senator Unruh from up in the Beulah area says you can't tell us what to do, that we've got to turn you a high yield. Any consultant that did that, I might have only been one vote on that board. I might have been only one vote that oversaw the legacy fund, but I will guarantee you this, my vote would have been no. There would have been no money going to Russia. There would have been no money going to China. There are all kinds of things to invest in that might have gotten a little less yield, but that would have made the world a better place by doing it. And so to the Senator Unruh from Beulah, I guess I can understand if that's what you're all about, why they're saying they don't want you to be their senator anymore. But it's so repulsive to me that we sent Russia, North Dakota dollars that they can use for what we're seeing play out now. And to say, well, that's hindsight, that's BS hindsight. They were never our friends. They never have been our friends. They never were going to be our friends. And so to sit there and make an argument that, you're just using hindsight, Heitkamp. No, they never would have gotten my vote to get our money. Let's get to the Weather Cave and talk to Too Tall Tom. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to
how much money we're going to lose if we take it out now. I know that. That problem already happened when we invested in it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if you think that the financial picture in Russia is going to improve, number one, I think you're wrong. I think the decision that Vladimir Putin has made will isolate him from the rest of the world and the finances that go along with it for quite some time. So I think the debate over whether or not we're going to lose money is over. That's done. The question is, do you lose it all? I mean, the money's got to come out. Josh, this whole, not only just the sheer ethics side of this, to know, to look up at that screen, look at these aggressors that are bombing innocent people and know that we're funding them is just repulsive to me.
Absolutely. And, you know, it is a moral, ethical conversation. And again, that's what's so frustrating about what my Republican colleagues passed in this last legislative session was a bill that said we cannot use that reason to make investment or divestment decisions. And so it hamstrings North Dakotans and North Dakota's ability to make good investment. I mean, there are plenty of good investments out there that are getting strong yields that we can invest in and be a part of. You know, it's still capitalism. It's still the ability to be a part of the marketplace. And that's important. And it's just frustrating that, you know, we continue to look at the fact that if it makes us money, we can turn the other eye. We did that with tobacco. We're doing it with firearms. You know, and this isn't me trying to say that we should make those as reasons why we invest or not invest in North Dakota, but it's just when we know something's harming people, let's fix it.
Yeah, that's right. This message comes in and says, Joel, the ruble is crashing. We'll lose half of that investment now if we remove it. Who's responsible for the investment? Well, we go back to the Legacy Fund. John Gottfried, Thomas Beadle, and Brent Sanford these are the three individuals on there that are elected officials. And then there's the advisory board that we pointed out. Jerry Klein, Keith Kempenich, Glenn Bosch, Gary Kreit, Kathy Hogan, and Scott Meyer, who can offer advice to in the legislative branch, say, hey, here's what we think you should do. But those are the people you got to get in contact with. I am just getting flooded with a bunch of messages here saying withdraw that money from Russia right now.
Can I say something about the loss, Joel?
Yeah.
Yes, those funds will have a loss, but that's why these funds are packaged into bigger funds to isolate from one isolated event or one decision within a fund from having that big of an effect overall on the investment of the Legacy Fund. And so I think that's important for folks to understand is, again, the investment board, we certainly should be asking them to make sure we don't invest in places like Russia and China right now, but they're part of a bigger super fund of international bonds. So it's invested in Europe, it's invested in South America, it's invested in other places too to help isolate from those impacts.
For me personally, the consultant that I'd use for this, they'd be out of a job. Obviously, you'd have to live through the contract, and it'd be like, there's more of you out there that can manage these funds or give us recommendations. If at any point you felt investing in China and Russia was a good thing on behalf of the North Dakota people, see ya. Yeah, I don't need you to work for North Dakota anymore. I just don't. Joel, equally concerning about the Legacy Fund investment is the unanimous approval by the committee without question. The human rights record of where the investment is also a concern. Another one, if we are really losing a huge amount of money, then we should ask why we had such a big amount in that, or any country besides America, of course. And that question is going to come up. I know some of these elected officials are going to be, when you've done something stupid, when you've done something wrong, own it. Fix it. Come out today with a statement that says we're pulling the money out. We can debate the investment manager another day. We can debate how much money was lost in that fund. We can do all of that. The only thing that I, as a North Dakota citizen, feels right now, Josh, very strongly about is the fact that I have money that is part mine and every citizens of North Dakota that is funding what we're watching play out.
Yeah. And again, exactly that. And you're right. The governor or the state investment board should be able to do this. But the Republican supermajority passed a law that said that they can't on a dime. They can't be nimble like we want government to do. And that's what I hope, beyond the conversation and the ongoing conversation we need to have is how the Republican supermajority continues to hamstring agencies and boards and local governments from being able to do what they need to do within the purview of the constituencies or the people that they serve. And so one size does not fit all, and we have to make sure that government can be responsive, including the State Investment Board, in the investments we're making.
The reason I hung on to you as well as I have to ask you about this, because in the end, you're going to have to work with these folks. These are going to be people where you go out to Bismarck and sit in chairs right next to them. If you look at what's happening at the district levels out there, some of the individuals that are losing their party's endorsements, Bob Erbley over the weekend lost to Sebastian Ertelt. Sebastian Ertelt is probably one of the worst legislators that the state of North Dakota has ever produced, period, bar none. And yet he goes into a new legislative district, runs against a man that has served that district well, Republican for a long, long time. He's someone I respect immensely. We didn't vote very often the same way, but just a good, decent human being that does this for the right reasons, and he loses his party's nomination because of Sebastian. I mean, what is going on out there? You and I can name 5-6 different examples of
Senator Elke and Devil's Lake. We've Senator Unruh, who we've talked about from Coal Country.
Kathy Scraw got nominated down District 25.
Right.
I mean, Kathy Scraw and Jason Heitkamp lost by 2 votes and is going around screaming that what they did was illegal. Yeah. He's screaming into every camera and every microphone he can that this was completely corrupt. I mean, it's like, and he lost by 2 votes. He would have been on the ballot.
But you know what Jason Heitkamp and Kathy Scraw and Sebastian Ertelt and others have done to do this? They've organized people to show up at those local conventions. And democracy takes people showing up. And that's the one thing I've told my Republican colleagues. I've told this to Majority Leader Pollard, to Majority Leader Wardner, to Ray Holmberg, the chair of the Appropriations Committee. I said, you as the Republican Party, as people who we work with every day and we get along well and we do good things together with, you aren't doing the work that needs to be done to keep your seats. You're not doing the work to call and make sure you have 50 reasonable, common sense neighbors that are Republicans to show up to these meetings. The story that's not being told is in a lot of these districts, District 46, South Fargo here, Representative Casper a long time ago had the bylaws amended that you have to pay to vote. So you have to pay dues to the Republican Party in order to be able to vote in that district convention.
Yep.
Not only that, but it's my understanding, I haven't read this is just hearsay, but it's also my understanding some districts have gone as far as saying you have to pay your dues 2 weeks or a month or whatever time period ahead of the convention. So it stops Senator Erbley from hearing that there's going to be 30 people he's never met showing up and him calling his family and friends to show up because they haven't paid their dues in time. And I don't, again, know if that's specific to their district or not, but this is the way that the GOP has operated.
Right.
They want to keep certain people out. We're seeing it not only in their local conventions, we're seeing it in bills passed in Texas. We've seen it in bills introduced around the country. They want to keep their hold on by controlling who votes and who has a say instead of saying, you know what's best for democracy is when we get more people. And nothing can be further from the truth in North Dakota. And I'm saying this as the Democrat and a leader of the Democratic Party who pushes for more and more people to vote. When more people voted in 2018 and 2020, we lost seats as Democrats in the state. Sucks for us. We thought by turning out some of those people, but it was people who didn't vote before, but they voted Republican or they voted for President Trump in 2016.
That's democracy.
But that's democracy. People showed up. They had their voice heard.
I want to use one person as an example, and it isn't because we have the same last name. It's because of how he votes and what he does. Use Jason Heitkamp, who's calling foul on the Republican process, as an example. You say you've got to turn people out. Heitkamp got kicked out of his legislative district. They took his legislative district away because they can't stand him. I got calls from Republicans in the legislature saying, we can't work with this guy. I mean, we can't work with Jason Heitkamp. And yet he's sitting there and he runs at the district level. And what do you see? You see him in a situation where he gets 55 or 56 people to vote for him at a convention where you could proxy this. And so their district convention, you're right, you have to pay to participate. It's a pay-to-play deal, which is bull. It's complete bull. But one guy could walk in and pay, have a sheet of paper, says Josh and Abby told me I can vote for them, and then walk up there and give $25 per person Say you want 10 proxies, you leave $250 up there, and now you've got you've got 10 votes.
Wow.
And that's what Jason is all ticked off about, is that one guy can go up there and get 10 ballots and can go ahead and vote 10 times. Well, that's what your party does. And the Secretary of State doesn't dictate that the party. If you're that idiotic, I mean, there were Republicans always mad at our party because when we sent delegates to the state convention, we wanted it equal for every man, woman, every man, woman. You know what I mean? We wanted both genders represented. And the Republicans were like, well, yeah, you got all this bias when it comes to it. We don't make anybody pay.
Right.
We don't make anybody pay. And I'm proud of the fact that we look from people from both sides to do that. So a couple more questions about that. But here's the other part. Heitkamp gets 55 people at his district convention. When Jerry Kelsch and I ran against each other, there was 480 people in that gym. Wow. So tell me whether or not he has the support of people. If all he can get on a proxy system, if all he can get is a little over 50, he deserves to lose.
Yeah.
And he did lose. All right, let's head to the Weather Cave and visit with Too Tall Tom.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio. Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
Remaining time I have with Representative Josh Boucher about how this legislature is going to act. You know, Rick Becker for years has been the head of the Bastiat caucus, which you've had to deal with. If you look at the who's voted with the mainstream Republicans, it's been your caucus. I mean, it has. You know,
I've told people our caucus has been a part of the ruling majority the entire time because
Right.
we're funding education. We funded rural health care. We got roads and township roads, which many of these Bastiats won't fund. So, you know, regardless of the difference of political party, we at least can walk out ahead saying, you know, we're investing in North Dakota first, and we're not one issue votes or these extreme ideas that these are what we're going to die on hills for. You know, the hard part is how horrible some of these bills that they're bringing forward. You know, we are on South Dakota level now in terms of we're trying to shut out the federal government, and you know, if we don't like what your kid looks like or who they think they are, we're going to make sure your kid can't do this or can't do that, or we're going to dictate what's taught in schools. I mean, we sit here talking for the last hour about Russia. Well, this is the type of policies that they want. The GOP has passed bans on bans for the local level, telling cities and counties what they can do. And then they have a faction who wants to pass what we can think, what we can read, what our kids can learn about what version of history in the United States. And it's scary. And so I hope your listeners, regardless of what party they vote for, really pay attention to which Republican is on the ballot.
There's a lot of talk that's going on right now that John Hoeven is looking to go directly to the primary, and that as they go around to these district conventions, they're verbally harassing, and they did Mikey Hoeven as she stood to speak, or their daughter or whatever. But the Hovens are not exactly resonating with many people at these district conventions. And who would have ever saw that?
Right.
I mean, I know that John is notorious for never taking a stand, and, I mean, you'd never want him around you in a tough fight because he'd be the first one running with the car keys. But that doesn't change the fact he's held office for them for how long.
Right.
And for Rick Becker to be making these inroads and to make John Hoeven nervous, which the one thing you can't dispute is whether or not Becker's made John Hoeven nervous. He has.
Yeah. Well, and I think how sad would it be if you're the incumbent sitting governor or senator, former governor, and you can't show up at district conventions or your own state convention. So I go back to, again, what are you doing to turn out people? Why aren't you on the phones turning out the people who voted for you in the general and the primary before and saying, I need you to show up at these conventions.
Yeah.
We need to take back our party, the party that helped us expand healthcare or Medicaid expansion, that has helped us invest in North Dakota first. That's, again, what I hope voters really pay attention to, because if this other wing ends up on the ballot, those things are going away.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we can cut income tax. I say that as I roll my eye. The small income tax that we pay in the state of North Dakota, but that's just going to put more pressure on your property taxes.
Right.
That's just going to mean that, you know, school funding is going to diminish, and we're not going to be able to keep hospitals open in Grafton and Rugby and elsewhere.
Well, and you saw what the Bastiat, the far right in the Republican Party, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was the other congressman, cheering on Vladimir Putin?
Lauren Brobet
yeah.
or something like that.
I mean, they took to the stage and called for support for Vladimir Putin.
Yeah. Because they like his style. Yeah. Not what he does or his outcomes or what it means for democracy or the people that we represent. We don't govern these people. We represent these people.
When I think of Vladimir Putin, I don't think of a genius. I think of one of the most evil men since Adolf Hitler. That's what I think of. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio. Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to
Went down to District 24, which is now Barnes and Ransom County. 25 people showed up in Lisbon, and in a district that people said was dead, that Democrats don't live there. We had 110,000 people vote for a state auditor in 2020 for the Democratic ticket. So the Democratic Party's there. people just aren't necessarily voting for us, and we have work to do there. But what that requires is for us Democrats to show up at these conventions, to show up at the state convention, to get involved, to hold our legislators accountable, work with them when we can, and then tell them when they're wrong. And so, as much as we get caught up in talking about the division within the GOP and the Civil War that doesn't seem to be ending there, there's work that we can do too as the Democrats, and I look forward to continuing pushing forward with that.
Josh, thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate you giving us your time. Lori Levinson is the professor of law at Loyola Law School, and she's been a visiting professor at UCLA School of Law and USC School of Law. I've seen her on a number of national shows, and I have to tell you, she is just so well-spoken and very gracious with her time. We've got her back here on News and Views again. Professor, good to have you back on News and Views.
Thank you, Joel. That was awfully kind.
Well, it's true. I want to, it always seems like I ask you to come on when there's tough things to talk about. These 3 former Minneapolis police officers found guilty of violating George Floyd's civil rights. A lot of people look at these trials, Professor, and they say, why? They've already been found guilty. And I think the explanation for the why probably best come from you.
Well, I think the argument here is that this was a federal violation as well. Certainly the main defendant pled guilty on the federal charge after Derek Chauvin was convicted on the state charge and was facing almost a life sentence there. But people called for these other officers to be held accountable. Lane, Kung, Tao, they were there. They failed to intervene. And the message was going out, you can't be part of this. If you're a law enforcement officer, you have a greater responsibility.
So what happens as far as rule of law with an appeal process? If I've been found guilty of the crime both at a state and a federal level, can I make an appeal at the state level, possibly get something overturned, and yet still be held culpable on a federal level?
Well, under federal law, there is no double jeopardy. These are separate sovereigns, both the state and the federal, so you can be convicted of both. On the other hand, states have their own rights. I think currently the focus really is on this federal case and whether it was appropriate to bring these fellows in this federal case. The prior case was, Chauvin, focusing on him. But right now, the question is whether they should stand maybe a life sentence for not getting involved properly when Chauvin was doing what he was doing to George Floyd.
So if I were sitting across your desk, being the expert you are at law, and I was one of these 3, and I looked at you and said, look, we're about to go to trial on this, or about to go to sentencing on this, and I'm getting pulled in, with others. And if you look at my situation, it's very different than the others' 2 situation, or, none of us were Chauvin. Why are we getting blamed? I mean, are those means of defense, and are we seeing more and more examples of, hey, look, you've got to put up with it. You were there.
Well, there has been criticism by the defense lawyers, of at least Lane's defense lawyer, who said basically this was mob rule in politics, that the only reason these officers were being charged is because they were there, but they're really not the bad guys here. They had a chance early on to make that argument to the federal authorities to even cooperate, and that might have been their best deal. Now it might be a little too late. There still hasn't been the sentencing, so we have to figure out what the federal judge is going to do. They'll have a chance to make a motion for a new trial, and this is the case where people look at it and say, how far does it push that argument that not only are you responsible if you put your knee on their neck, but if you stand there and let someone else do it as well. This is a different type of case, but it is a lawful theory under the federal civil rights law.
So how does this work going forward now? If these individuals want to form some type of appeal, if you're being tried under the same trial, can each one of them make a separate case or not involve another person in what's being discussed about on their appeal? I know that sounds very rudimentary.
No. But absolutely. Now, you've hit it on the head. Each one of these defendants has his own lawyer. He gets to make his own appeal. He gets to say that I'm not as bad as the other guy. You have some officers are going to say, I was a rookie out there. This was my senior officer. He was my training officer. How did you expect me to intervene? That might be a stronger argument for one of the defendants than it is for the others. Lane, for example, kept asking whether they should turn Floyd on his side so he could breathe, and he was rebuffed by the other officers. He would try to distinguish himself by saying, I'm the guy who called for the ambulance. I'm the guy that said turn him on his side. Why am I being thrown in with these other two?
So let me ask this, is the politics of a situation reason for a later appeal? And by that I mean the world seeing what happened to George Floyd, knowing right from wrong, knowing the fact that his life had been taken by, the fact that his neck was knelt on for that long. Is this something where you let the pot simmer down a bit, and a year from now you're more apt to make an appeal versus the emotion of having everyone's attention right now?
They don't really have the choice. In terms of timing of appeal, they're going to have to appeal right away to get within that statutory limit. However, you've pointed out something terribly important. I'm sure an issue for appeal will be all the pretrial publicity, that this case came on the heels of a case where there were riots in the streets, and that they really didn't get a fair trial. I think their other major issue is going to be that, they had to be willfully depriving Floyd of his civil rights. And they perhaps were the worst officers in the world, negligent, but that, they would argue, is not the same as willful. Chauvin is willful. They are just bad cops.
Yeah. There was talk in the beginning, Professor Levinson, about, where the trial should be held at the state level. Whether the community that I'm in, Fargo, right across the bridge from here, is its sister city, Moorhead, Minnesota, and that was listed as one of the potential sites for moving the trial to. And I think a lot of these, smaller towns than the cities that, they didn't have the type of situation where they could provide the security for that trial. That being said, if I could point that out as part of my appeal, if I could say, look, you couldn't even move this trial because it was so high profile and security risks were there, would that be part of the case for the appeal?
I'm sure they'll raise it as an issue, but I'm not sure that it will be successful, because if you go back to, for example, the Rodney King case, the Rodney King case was tried, the federal trial after there was the unsuccessful state trial, was tried in Los Angeles, just a mile from where the riots took place. What the Court of Appeal generally says is how careful was the screening process for the jurors, and allows that to be the reason to say they didn't have to change venue.
Okay. The reason to me that would just be so relevant is because the bruises were all still there from the riots. I mean, you saw a situation where, a town exploded. Heck, a nation exploded because of this. And so to find 12 people that hadn't formed an opinion, I would guess had to have been very hard.
It's hard, but it's not impossible. What we really worry about is who are these people who don't really have an opinion yet? Are these people who don't pay any attention or just lying when they're going through the jury selection process? So you're right. Some of it we wonder how sincere, but generally I think in my experience jurors try to do their best. I don't know of specific interviews by these jurors. That's something else that could come up. It doesn't matter too much if they had strong feelings. What matters is if they were getting information from outside the courtroom, and that could lead to a new trial.
Does a trial like this, I'll go back to the Chauvin portion of this whole incident. Is it almost an assurity that these individuals are going to be sequestered?
The jurors themselves?
Yeah, that the jurors, that you can't let them watch this play out on nightly television?
Well, that's one kind of sequestering, and that should be happening all around, which is jurors should not be exposed to newspapers and to social media and news reports on television on their phone. But frankly, that's nearly impossible to monitor. And so as I've watched high-profile trials, I've realized that probably the most effective thing is what I saw in the O.J. second trial, not the first trial, where the judge looked at the jurors and said, I know that if you want to know what's happening in the media, you'll find out. But I'm going to ask you to do your duty and not pay attention to it. And that's probably the only time I've actually seen a jurors get the message. Otherwise, they are flooded with information.
That's interesting. I also know that you were featured in a recent article about the Sandy Hook Remington gun case. You know, that settled that you know where you're visiting with right now here in the Upper Midwest, and if you went in my gun safe, you'd find a number of Remington shotguns that I've gotten since I was young to older. But Remington's broke because of this. How
they were broke before this.
No.
I mean, let's all be fair.
No. The reason I say that isn't because of Remington or worrying about Remington. I personally think that this was a case that needed to be made. My point is this, Professor: how do you get money out of them? How do you get through a process like this to somebody that says, look, we're broke, we don't have money, you might have won, but you don't get paid? How do you make sure they get paid?
Well, that's probably up to the bankruptcy courts. I mean, as you recall, they went into bankruptcy, and there's a restructuring of the companies, and these families may be very late in line for getting their funding. But I actually don't know that was the point. They wanted to send a message because the judgment, the settlement itself, isn't that high. It's not as high. I mean, it's in the millions, but for a company that once made so much more, I think it was more just sort of the sending the message of accountability. And for the gun owners who are listening, please keep in mind this was not a case about how you could never sell a gun or never own a gun. It was a case where the company was on notice that these guns were going to be used by somebody who was not mentally well, who might use them inappropriately, who was accessing information regarding those sites. And that's the type of case that they wanted to bring.
And that was my next question, because in our neck of the woods, you have all of these, arguments about the Second Amendment, whatnot, but this was such a clear case of what Remington knew when they knew it. So it begs this final question, Professor. Will this change the fact that common sense hadn't been used in arguments about gun use before? Will this be a landmark case in regards to gun ownership and what you do with that gun?
I don't know, but I hope so. I do hope that responsible gun owners say, look, these people are ruining it for all of us. We can responsibly have guns, but not if a company who's on notice of how their gun's going to be misused and slaughters children continues to allow that to happen.
I could not agree more.
It's going to be on the company.
I agree more. I could not agree more. Thank you, Professor. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Take care.
Lori Levinson, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to head to a break here. When we come back, get your final thoughts. 1-800-880-5346. Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. You know, that's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
To the News and Views Radio Network, just a little bit of time that we have left. I just want to practice and see if you're on to what I'm trying to get out there today. Abby?
Yep.
I want my money back. It's your money, too. I want my money back.
I don't want my money to go to Russia.
I don't want it to go to Russia. And so many of you are texting in saying you've called the governor's office, but there's a long hold. 328-2200. Let me give that again. 328-2200. That's the governor's phone number. Call it. Call Doug Burgum and say, we want our money back. We don't want to watch TV or listen to the radio or pick up the newspaper or get on social media and see story after story after story of what is happening to the Ukrainian people, and then find out it's dollars that are North Dakotans that are being used to fund Vladimir Putin. If that sounds too simplistic, I don't care. It's not too simplistic. We're investing in the Russian government. This isn't plastics in Russia. We're investing in the Russian government. And that money that's going to the Russian government, the government is using to attack and create war against Ukraine. They're killing people with that money. It's that plain. It's that simple. The Russian government is profiting from our money, and our money is there. I want it back. And my guess is a lot of you want it back as well. And what I noticed is some of these individuals that that text into our text club every day that normally are like all over me because of my political party or all over the president, I want to thank you because you're getting it today. You're getting it. You're understanding. I want to thank you. A number of those consistent conservative phone numbers are starting to really get and respect the fact that we as a country have to come out in a unified message against the Russian people and against Vladimir Putin. I shouldn't say the Russian people, but Vladimir Putin. And so some of these more consistent, boy, I hate you and everything you stand for people are kind of coming around and saying it. And a couple of you have said, and I'm just going to paraphrase, that you want the money back too. So know that. For you conservatives out there who think this is just business, this is just finance, this is the way it is, Joel, you're just being naive about how the world of money works. Bull. Bull, bull, bull. They've got our money. I want the money back. You want the money back. Governor Burgum, if you're listening, Brett Sanford works for you. He's your lieutenant governor. John Gottfried is from your party. Thomas Beadle is from your party. But they work on behalf and draw a salary from the state of North Dakota. Tell them. Issue a statement, Governor. Issue a statement right now, Governor, where you say you're going to get the money back. You're going to use the power of the governorship to get North Dakota's money out of Russia. Good riding with you, folks. Ed Schaefer's in this chair tomorrow. I'm going to be off for a couple days.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.